Welcome back to Uncovering Dark Falls. This is Gideon Brooks, and as I mentioned in the previous episode, I recently found out that people have been living, or at the very least, breaking into and hanging out in the walls of this house. They're starting to leave more obvious signs of their activity as well. Maybe these people are getting sloppy. Maybe they're just trying to get to the family, and maybe they're becoming more and more desperate and making dumb mistakes while doing so. I think I now know the answer, and I'll come back to that in a bit. Before I do anything, I want to talk about the music. Can you guys hear that? I'm not putting it in, and it's not coming from my room at all. I need to know that I'm not crazy. Can somebody please leave a comment letting me know that you can hear it too? It only plays when I talk about the house. And again, I'm just going to do my best to keep going. Maybe we can figure out where this is coming from together. All right, let's push on. The dad is pissed. He calls up the realtor, Mr. Dawes, and Mr. Dawes comes over to address some concerns. The dad is furiously asking Mr. Dawes about the chemical factory shutting down after a dangerous accident. He says there could be potentially dangerous pollution in the air that we're all breathing right now. How come he didn't know any of these things? And he shows Mr. Dawes the fresh hole in his daughter's closet from the night before. Now, Mr. Dawes downplays all of this, citing raccoons, some clean dirt samples, and he quickly makes an exit. Later that day, Karen, the neighbor kid, comes over to see Amanda. She's the older sister of the family. And surprise, surprise, Karen notices the good luck wreath hanging over the fireplace. She says that she doesn't want to scare Amanda, but that good luck charm might actually be bad luck, since it's making Karen feel so weirded out. I mean, let's take a look at the facts. So far, Mr. Dawes, the neighbor Agnes, and now Karen, Agnes's daughter, have all been inside the house and have either been oddly captivated by this good luck charm, or just downright talked smack about it and then quickly left afterwards. According to the reports that I could get my hands on, Amanda then tells Karen about all of the weird stuff that she's been experiencing since they've moved into the house. And that does it. Amanda decides that this odd-looking, kind of misshapen, out-of-the-box wreath has to be the thing that's causing all of her sightings, the noises she's hearing at night, and the holes. All of it. After all, it wasn't hanging up in their last house and nothing bad ever happened there. And now that it's proudly on display, all of these strange occurrences just keep happening one after another. It can't be a coincidence. Oh, and Petey's missing, by the way. Josh found another hole in the backyard fence, and Petey is nowhere to be found. Amanda and Josh head out to go find the dog, while Mom and Dad stay home to host a lunch date with the neighbors that should be starting any minute now. The kids run around the neighborhood, desperately calling out for their dog, Petey, Petey, but there's no signs of them finding him. They eventually find an open gate in the nearby woods, and the gate leads to a very defunct and, out of commission looking cemetery. The Dark Falls Cemetery. The very cemetery that sits about 6 blocks from my house while I'm recording this episode. The two kids enter through the cemetery gates and they spot Petey in the distance. Now, obviously relieved, they start running after him to go get him, but he doesn't greet them. He continues to run away deeper into the woods, deeper into the cemetery. They catch up with him again, but this time, the kids stumble upon something that they never expected to see. Everyone in this small town of Dark Falls is huddled around Mr. Dawes as he's giving a speech and addressing everyone one at a time. They could hear one of the townspeople mentioning, needing to feed. Another person brought up the fact that they can't eat until the sun goes down. It was clear to Amanda and Josh in that very moment that everybody in this town is dead. That would explain the pale skin. Not the fact that the sun hardly ever showed itself, it's that they were literally walking around dead. But what does it mean for them to feed? Well, let me explain what happened next. One of the siblings, of course, steps on a branch and it snaps so loud that it interrupts the entire congregation, and the whole group of people stop their bickering and their planning all at once. They see the kids, they see the dog, and they start beelining it over to them. Now this obviously scares the shit out of the kids, so they bolt back home, leaving Petey behind. Now, by the way, this whole time that this encounter is happening in the woods of the cemetery, the parents are at home making probably awkward small talk with the neighbors. As the kids are sprinting back to their house, Amanda trips and falls just past the cemetery gates, and the articles that I could read claim that in that moment, one of the townspeople actually got a hold of her leg and grabbed on so tight it almost ripped her foot clean off the leg, her red Converse shoe and all. But, by the grace of something, Amanda managed to break free, and she and her brother continues to sprint home. As they're running, they can hear the people in the crowd behind them saying things like, "I don't care if the sun's not down yet, I need to feed," and "I told you we should have eaten them on day one." Wow. I know I've read the reports, and I've included very specific lines from the articles in my own script here, but still, just reading that back gives me goosebumps, dude. The kids barely make it home. They run inside the house, and they just start moving furniture and anything that they can think of to block the windows and the doors. Amanda quickly tells everyone that Mom's good luck wreath is the thing that's making all of those unexplained things happen, and why there's now literal zombies on their porch trying to forcefully break their way in. The parents don't believe her until they look outside and see the literal walking dead collecting around their house and violently banging on their house, desperately clawing to get inside. The neighbors agree with this sentiment. And just like that, Mom grabs the wreath from over the fireplace and she destroys it. A brief moment of relief washes over everybody inside. The banging sounds from outside stop, and it seems like everyone within a 10-mile radius can feel a shift in the air. It's quiet, but it doesn't last long. As quickly as everything calmed down, all of that commotion rips right back up again, only now the banging is louder, and the number of people pooling around the house feels like it's growing. But what about the neighbors that are over for lunch? Do they know what's going on? Are they aware of this, quote, feeding thing that the kids are talking about? What's their reaction to everything that's happening right now? Well, they're pleased as punch. Seriously. They could not be happier right now, because they too are part of this zombie infestation, and the family is now locked in the house with them. As this realization washes over the family, windows are heard breaking, doors are being busted open, and everyone that was just outside is now climbing their way inside. It's now 4 versus 100. The family runs upstairs, being chased and swiped at with every step, coming closer and closer to being, either food or one of them. I don't really know how that works. Their escape is proving to be pretty fruitless, though. These, quote, ghouls are able to punch through floorboards and grab for limbs. They're using paths in the walls that they've been carving out to quickly move from one room to another and from one floor to another. The ghouls are closing the gap, and the family is now in the attic with nowhere else to run. One of the big ones grabs onto Mom, and another one wraps his arms around the dad. The ghouls are not, dumb, mindless zombies, though. They're neighbors, right? They're civil. They take a moment to game plan the most fair way to split the family into different feedings. Now Amanda has a light bulb go off. Not, literally. It's very dark in the attic, despite it being in the middle of the day. But Amanda remembers the kids that they ran into always wanting to play after the sun goes away. And Josh remembers the townspeople shouting just moments ago, "I don't care if the sun isn't down yet, blah, 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 blah." These are vampire zombies. The kids quickly run over to the attic windows and they start throwing the blinds open and tearing away at the boards that have covered the windows for, likely years at this point. And in a moment of hope, a literal ray of sunshine beams through the windows and catches the big ghoul in the face. He starts to scream as smoke forms around his eyes and his mouth as he lets go of Mom. More boards start coming down from the windows, and as the sunlight, for the first time in days that this family knows of, or probably even much longer, it pours into the attic and it showers the ghouls in a smoke and gross, vapor-filled group deafening. Come on, I'm not a writer. I'm going to call it a deafening because that's technically what it was. I don't know what else to call it. The family runs past the ashes of what remains of the ghouls. They jump into the car outside and they jet. They just leave town. There's no questions. There's no plans. They're just gone. And I don't blame them. I also found out, by the way, that the late uncle that the family inherited this house from was completely unknown to everybody. Now, it's never reported if the mother just assumed the uncle was on the father's side of the family, and then of course maybe the father assumed it was on the mother's side of the family. But in any case, neither the mom nor the dad had an uncle that they were aware of, let alone one that owned property in Dark Falls and had passed recently. Does Mr. Dawes simply serve as the host for the most gruesome and elaborate Nigerian prince scheme ever concocted? How many times has he run this strategy? How many families have, inherited a house, mortgage-free, only to be preyed upon and then killed by this town of vampire zombies, dude? I'm at the end of this mystery, and despite learning everything that I intended to about this house, why the locals say to avoid it, but never really told me why, what actually happened inside the house, and what the town has become since the events, I'm still left with way more questions than answers. For example, did the chemical plant accident have something to do with the zombies? Is that going to be covered up? Has it been covered up this whole time? Was the town pretty much overcast the entire time because the pollution was really that bad and nobody in the family noticed? Was Petey making the siblings follow him deeper into the cemetery to show them what the townspeople were up to? I mean, he consistently would growl or act cautious to anybody that he encountered in that town, in this town, despite being a very friendly and quiet dog before the family moved to Dark Falls. I think the answer to all of these questions is, yeah, probably. But how would anybody have known? How would anybody know now? One more thing. Some of you, I hope, are worried about Petey. Well, as the family was speeding through the town and driving past the "You are now leaving Dark Falls" sign, they see Petey on the side of the road. They stop, he jumps in the car, and they continue on. This town is strange. Strange things have happened here, clearly. And I think I'm just walking into something that I didn't expect to walk into. This might be bigger than just, the house. Now, luckily, everybody in the family made it out unharmed. A little traumatized, sure, but still alive. The same cannot be said for the next mystery that I plan on uncovering. I've been talking to my mailman a lot lately. He's the only person that I see pretty much daily since moving here. And he's agreed to shed some light on the old library in town and why, even though it's been replaced with this shiny new library, the old one still sits there, where it always has, untouched. I guess the people involved in that mystery aren't as lucky as the ones involved in this one that I just covered here. I'm going to be meeting up with him over the next couple of days, and I'll see what I can learn. I'll share everything with you here next week. Oh, by the way, Uncovering Dark Falls has a Patreon page. Yeah, we've got an Instagram and a Threads, I guess, and whatever else, but the Patreon is kind of where everything's going to be happening. Early access to episodes, as I do the research and record them. Some behind-the-scenes bonus content, and the part that I think is going to be super cool is voting privileges. So if I can uncover, multiple threads at the same time, which they just seem to be happening themselves upon me, you know what I mean? I want to know from you, which specific mysteries do you want me to cover next? I just did the Dead House, and I'm going to do a library one next time. But beyond that, I want you to be able to pick what I cover next because, like I said before, this town is just seemingly filled with one mystery after another. And I'm going to need some help. Till then.
Uncovering Dark Falls is written by David Caleb and Dr. Plague. Created, produced, and narrated by Darek Weber.